Sometimes the time passes so fast, it's like, oh, what the hell? Is there actually a way to turn that down? No. Of course there isn't. I just have a really bad reflex. My master and I took a turn about the top deck, marveling at the glistening white marble edifice of the Taj Mahal, bounded by clear blue water and manicured gardens. A photographer had set up a booth on the lawn and was doing a brisk trade, taking phototypes of families posing in front of the magnificent monument. It was so quick, he developed, fixed, and varnished and handed the phototype to the customer in a matter of minutes. He glanced over at me appraisingly. "Photograph?" he asked in passable French. £10. "Nicely," I agreed, and then glanced at Monsieur Fogg. "Please, don't be pissed off by me." I invited him to join me in the picture. He glanced at the photographic apparatus with evident suspicion, and then at my hopeful expression. "Very well," he said shortly. I stared at him, mouth agape, for a full 20 seconds. I had not imagined that he would agree. We posed beside each other as the photographer made his equipment ready. I could barely keep the grin from my face. There was a blinding flash of white light, and by the time my vision had returned to normal, the phototype was already being pressed into my hands, a handsome article in some light. I can almost see the barest hint of a smile upon my master's lips. I tucked the phototype into my pocket, and we continued about our promenade. Hey, you gotta have at least some sort of memory, right? I think if we were to have any memory of our trip around the world, this was worth it. Plus, I have this weird sinking suspicion that by the time we get back, they're going to be like, I want proof that you came around the world in 80 days. There you go. Is that actually in my luggage now? Oh, no. Why do I keep missing the opportunity to talk with people? Unless this is actually that. I was taking a small digestive walk after a substantial breakfast when I saw a young lady in a bright pink sari and yellow lens goggles pitch herself over the outer railings. I screamed like a maiden in a badly written Gothic novel before gathering my wits and approaching the railing. I peered over the edge, sick with morbid curiosity about the woman's fate, only to see her waving up at me cheerily, suspended from the railing by a length of thick hemp rope knotted about her waist. I knew it! I knew! That's why I went with the screaming like a little schoolgirl. I waved back, though my fixed expression could hardly have been described as nonchalant, even by the kindest critic. The woman sought me out at luncheon, by which time I was much recovered, and she introduced herself as Daya. "Madame Monsieur Daya," I bowed. "A pleasure to make your acquaintance." She laughed in surprise. "Your manners are very fancy." "I don't eat up here," she pronounced derisively, before glancing at me with bright mischief. "We are a city of many levels. The real Agra is below decks. I'll take you down tomorrow if you want to do more than sightseeing." She swept away into the crowd, leaving me to contemplate her challenge over my meal. Ooh! I will take that challenge. I will take that challenge and run with it. Of course, I went below decks. I am a man who cannot resist the challenge. Daya told me of some of the history and layout as we descended a series of stairs of increasing ricketiness. I followed until we reached a stop. My guide raised her hand. The sound of the engines was vibrating up through the floor. The walls here were highly polished, inlaid with jasper and sharp calligraphy. Then... She opened a pair of carved doors, saying with grave ceremony, "Welcome to the lower city." I blinked my eyes against the light, and as they adjusted, I saw where we were. We had come to a township built within the echoing bowels of the city, complete with shops and residences and even children playing games on the street, though these children tossed adjustable spanners and brass rings. Wow, this is fascinating. A child threw a ring at my feet and shyly approached as I reached out to hand it back. The ring, I saw, was old and engraved with measurements. "A kneecap," Dia said. "We go through 5 or 6 every decade." Dia was clearly a well-known figure and introduced me to her fellow lower city folk with great pride. Almost everyone wore tool belts and yellow lens goggles. Oh, these are probably the people who keep this thing afloat. "So, what do you think of my home, Frenchman?" "It is fantastic. A hidden world," I declared. "I would not have dreamed such a place existed beneath the parks of the upper deck." Dia nodded at my response, as if turning it over in her mind. "The truth is, I think, that all cities have a below decks, my friend," she said. "Agris is just more obvious, or less, depending." There was something hinted at in her tone, I thought. She smiled weakly. "Don't worry, Passepartout," she murmured. "I'm not going to eat you." Damn it! I was hoping for some sort of, romantic implication. Apparently there's a way to find true love. But before I could finish my damn thought, I was romance blocked. The bells rang out for our stop. The room around me exploded into controlled chaos. Brass-goggled men and women pulled enormous levers, threw open iron grates, and shouted instructions at each other in a storm of languages. The city lurched to a halt and the great hearts stilled. We had arrived at our destination, the British city of Calcutta. I never saw Dia again! Fuck! I wanted to get to know her better. Did I pick a wrong choice? Or is that just going to happen all the time? I meet some nice woman, she's very intriguing, very fascinating, has a really amazing, interesting backstory to her, and then I never see her again. Because, around the world, there has to be a way to get a lady friend or a guy friend, to attend with us around our journey. It just makes me sad. So it says some of our stuff could sell well here. Well, let me take the moment to explore while I can. Yes! There's the route I wanted. Whoa! And going all the way to Singapore. And then to Hong Kong. I figure I can still purchase once time freezes at 7 p.m. I think shopping at the market, I can hold off to the last second. That's what I'm going to try and do. Let me look at this again. Alright, so I can go to Calcutta to Chittagong. Or, why do I keep calling it Chittagong? Chittagong. And then it's a round trip from Singapore to Hong Kong. I think this is about what I want. Oh, but it's going to cost a pretty penny, isn't it? I guess we can figure it out more once we get to Chittagong. It doesn't cost that much. Calcutta was an industrial city which had built its wealth on opium, textiles, and indigo, but that was not to say it was uncultured. The chai shops which I passed by were all thronged with affluent Babis and Behengis discussing poetry and literature and the sticky subject of Indian independence. Uh-oh. It seemed a natural outcome of events, and I said as much, to be loudly shouted down by several pro-British voices who in turn were shouted down by those fervently in favor of self-rule. It was certainly a thorny issue, and I wondered if we would be able to avoid all consequences of it. No. I think we need to take a detour, man. But Chittagong is my only way to get to Singapore. I'm sure I can get to Chittagong and then leave as soon as I get there. I don't know. American Wardrobe said I am getting towards that place. I'll get the peppermint tablet for sure. Okay, I can get rid of that. Buy that. I didn't want to close out. There we go. Sell that. No. I'm trying to figure out what I want to purchase or sell. Well, I'm not in America yet, so cowboy boots, I might be getting ahead of myself there. However, I will be going on a boat soon, so get the Domino's. I'm taking a risk. Taking a serious risk here. Hopefully I'll get there before a fight like breaks out. Spent a while talking to the hotelier to learn what I could, learning that no markets exist in Yadanaban. A most interesting snippet. Most interesting indeed. Alright, let's go. I want to get there right away. I know it's risky, but look at it from like a financial perspective. If I can get that money and then just be out of there right away, I will be set. In my head, anyway. I could be completely wrong and I'm going to get myself killed. And then we're never going to complete our trip. We boarded the SS Thunder of the Apcar shipping line on its way to Hong Kong via Singapore. But the smokestacks barely had time to steam off their morning dew before we were approaching Chittagong to pick up more laborers. Yeah, we hid. We hid it and... Sorry, I was staring at what was being said for a second, kind of trying to absorb it. When the boat left once more, we had room and board for all but no cost, and all for no cost. Monsieur Fogg, I think, knew our status as stowaways, but chose to neglect the fact in the interest of sport. The captain, with whom we were quickly made friends, promised us a journey of 10 days, rather than the usual figure of 12. Damn. Beijing can be reached from Hong Kong aboard the Beijing Express, but the fare is extraordinary. Canton is a shabby place these days, but tell me, does this Nine ever flood? I want to head towards Hong Kong, so... Yokohama can be reached from Hong Kong by the Jade Tiger, and it's cheap. Interesting. Using the dominoes, we're getting more information out of her, it seems. So going from Yokohama, what's the chances of getting to Honolulu? What's the chance of getting to Manila? Alright. So I use the dominoes in order to get more information and to open up my possibilities of adventure. No! Why? No! I wanted to go!
No! Why? No! I wanted to go!
I had stuff to sell. I thought we would be stopping at Chittagong. I thought I would have time to sell stuff. No! I'm so disappointed.